Yeah, once again, for like the 5th time since I said it just a month or two ago, I'm breaking my schedule of anything but a review on Wednesdays and then an actual one on Sundays. But this week, I got something special for my fans on the 3-year anniversary, and as always, I don't expect most people will care about that video. Honestly, it'll probably sabotage my chances of hitting 14K by the end of August 8th, but at the same time, I don't care. I do it because I want to celebrate my fans. As for reaching 14K, this drive has been more successful than the last, as in just about the 2 weeks since we really started pushing for this, we made over 500 subscribers. So this is pretty much my last opportunity to say, if you want to try and help me hit 14K subscribers by the channel's 3rd birthday, thus getting 50% more subscribers this year than the first 2, then your likes! Please give. And if you enjoy this video by the end and you aren't subscribed already, please consider it. Speaking of celebrating a fan, I've got an amazing patron, Shockwave1998. You all might remember him from the Siege Skywarp and Bombburst video. Well, I showed him someone's Digibash because I thought it was cool and I knew he'd think so too. And he made it for me. I don't know how I wound up with fans this amazing. It's...
I am unworthy! I am unworthy! I am unworthy!
It's Shockwave1998's custom Cybertronian Dinobot. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's glorious. Oh, someone else did it at the exact same time he did, who was also not the original Digibasher. Man, what are the odds of that? Anyways, as you might be able to tell, this is a Dinobot made from an 86 junk heap, who hilariously Shockwave got on the cheap because it was already missing its head. And for those of you who don't understand what or why this is, allow me to put on my primer hat for the first time in a while and tell you. I've explained this before, but in Beast Wars, the people on Cybertron do not turn into animals. It's never established that maybe there's the odd character like Laserbeak or the Dinobots, but for all intents and purposes, everyone on Cybertron turns into vehicles still. They are for some reason all called Maximals and Predacons even though they are inorganic machines, so that's a little odd. Only the characters in the show have beast modes, because they crashed onto a planet bathed in electromagnetic radiation that can't pass through biological material. But as robots, it can kill them if they're exposed to it for too long. So they have outer shell beast modes made out of real organic materials to protect their inner circuits from the radiation. And yes, I know some of what I just said is either vague or technically wrong. I'm trying not to spoil the show. It's excellent. Go watch it. I made a whole video back at the start of my channel on why, if you're a truck not monkey guy, probably all of your preconceived notions about the show are incorrect. Many of your brethren have listened to me on this, and almost all of them have thanked me for it. I think that there was only one guy who still crapped all over it, and it was sad because he said it was his kid's favorite show, and he was hopeful that he could finally see eye to eye with his son on it, but that didn't end up happening. Yes, I really do care enough about my fans to remember details like that from probably about 2 years ago. Anyways, to sum up, this is a Dinobot from back when he was on Cybertron, before he took a Beast alt mode, and it's just so perfect. First up, I have to give credit to the Digibasher for coming up with the idea. I can't really think of a design or body that would fit Cybertronian Dinobot more. Back in like 2001, Hasbro said that he was like a steam shovel, but no, a motorcycle makes so much more sense. I can totally see Dinobot being a biker, and it fits his aesthetic well. Plus, this design is jacked, and the figure is large for a Voyager, so everything fits him so well. It's even got sword-wielding wrists, so he can use his bladed weapons effectively. From just the concept level, this was brilliant. And now I gotta give it up for Shockwave's handiwork. This is a work of art. The depths he went to are nothing short of astounding. I love details like these 3 clean little stripes on the side of his gas tank. They're so small, but they absolutely give off the vibe of his raptor stripes, really completing the look of the character. And there's just nowhere that he seems to have missed. The armpits, the insides of the wrists, the backpack. I mean, look at this. The Mad Lad painted the inside of the foot. That's a joint that you are never going to see unless you're actively scouring for it. And somehow with all this paint, there's nothing that's become non-functional. Aside from the mushroom pegs in the shoulders, where the first time I rotated them, all the paint stripped off, stuff like the kickstands on the backs of his legs still work, even the wheels still spin. Hell, the axe still freewheels like a gift from the god of fidget spinners. It's all so flawless, so perfect. This guy can still pose with the best of them, despite the 90 knees and elbows. And he looks better than ever while doing it. Now the head is the one thing on this figure that Shockwave didn't do. It's not just the head off a normal Kingdom Dinobot, but one that he bought off eBay meant to replace the Kingdom's dome. It's painted slightly differently than the rest of the figure directly from the seller, but it's not that noticeable. It's even got that metallic sheen you all know my caveman brain loves so much. The only real problem with it is that it doesn't like to pop onto the ball joint, and it's pretty tight, so I'm worried about snapping off the connector. And it doesn't pose the best when it's all the way down, but you can take it most of the way off to get a bit more range. So yeah, it's safe to say that I love the look of this thing like little else in my collection. It's art, it's just art, and I can't be more grateful to Shockwave for just doing this because he knew I'd like it. It's an incredibly thoughtful and amazing gift. Now for accessories and posability, I'm not really going to get into it. You've seen them all before in the other reviews I've done on this mold. And with Shockwave's Skywarp, I didn't cover the transformation. There's an official Skywarp out there, so we all know what that alt mode is going to look like. And if we don't, then we can look up the one whose paint won't be damaged by the transformation to see it. So ultimately, I didn't want to risk that thing's paint. However, we don't know what this thing is going to look like. So I know I'm about to make Shockwave feel a deep pain in the pit of his stomach, and I'm about to feel the same. But for you all, I will transform this so we can see it together. But I'm about to do something that I've never done before. I'm not going to do this one on camera. And I'm not necessarily going to do it very well either. I'm going to be maximum gentle, and I'm going to go maximum slow, and I'm not going to be pegging in just about every peg that I can get away with, to hopefully avoid stripping as much paint as possible. We are getting the idea for what this thing would look like in its alt mode. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the end result is just beautiful. It's exactly the kind of Con-esque motorcycle that Dinobot should be. It feels tough and mean, it's got armor and kneecappers, it just captures so much of the guy. You could show this to me in these colors and I'd get who it's supposed to be without ever seeing the robot mode. There does appear to be this one section of the seat though that's unpainted. Shame, shame, Shockwave. And here I was complimenting you on your thoroughness, only to find such shoddy craftsmanship. I may have to rescind the entire review. All joking aside, it's glorious, man. It's now a shining beacon of my collection that demands I get an entire Cybertronian Beast War squad for display. Speaking of, it's BotCon Cybertronian Airazor, the figure in my collection that now holds the record for the most I've ever spent on a deluxe, which was $130, and I was thrilled to find it for that price. I've had this figure for almost exactly 1 year now. Just goes to show how far behind on reviews I am. It's based on the deeply terrible original Windblade mold, which I also have. However, it is the far superior Slipstream retool, with a head that doesn't come straight out of my nightmares. So I do appreciate that. It also seems to have tighter tolerances than its mother mold. So it stands far easier. And if you've ever handled that Windblade, you know how much of a nightmare that can be. And look, I'll be honest. This is kind of awesome. It's exactly what it should be. It's got so much of her vibe, you'd think that this mold was almost made for her. It's got the right build, it's got the right chest configuration, get your minds out of the gutter, it's got the right forearm-mounted rockets, the way the wings have these little things that look like lower feathers is genius, even the shape of the head just seems perfect. Obviously the colors are on point for it, but that's something they had direct control over, unlike the base mold. And I just love the subtle gray pinstriping all over, emulating her feather patterns from the show. I don't know that it necessarily makes sense for her on Cybertron, since why should she have a feather pattern there, but I'm not going to complain about it. It doesn't go too far trying to connect her past and future forms. I love the green of her turbines. I think those are supposed to give the impression of her beast eyes, and I love the fact that they went with the black of a robot mode from in the show, and not the inferior brown they keep doing everywhere else. Because it's more accurate to real Peregrine folk. I don't care. I don't care. They are robots. They don't need to be one-to-one. Starscream is an F-15 who looks like the American flag threw up on him. They're allowed to have non-realistic colors. Then there's the head, and I know this is meant for Slipstream, but it's just so perfect for Airazor. The top lip is a little overpronounced, but outside that, this is flawless. The sides of the head flare out just as they should, the yellow crest of the helmet forms the nose guard just as it should. It's really impressive what they've done with the coloration in general, implying the orange cheek pieces with just paint, and then the face is silver just as it should be. This is one thing that Kingdom kept badly fucking up. Looking at the silver characters in scenes where it's twilight, and then deciding that because the ambient color was lavender, then the silver stuff must have been too. No, it's just this color. And you know what else works? The spunky expression. Normally, Slipstream is kind of depicted as a humorless bitch, so the plucky smile doesn't exactly work for a figure of her, but here, it's perfect for Airazor. After getting that original Windblade, I somehow never realized that this was one of her till I got it in hand. And now I'm glad that I didn't, because I might not have picked this up if I had realized. This version really outshines its terrible base mold, in feel, in look, in handling. That Windblade went into storage long ago despite being my only representation of a character that I really like. This will not, ever. It looks too good. As for accessories, she has these two Null Ray knockoffs that slot over her arm spikes. These long predate blast effects, and yet they can still use them, so that's unexpectedly awesome. And they are well painted as opposed to most accessories these days. So you know what? Normally I'm not too positive on stuff like this. At best it tends to be okay. But no, here I'll say that these are quite good and a great addition to the figure. Posability is old, but not terrible for something from this long ago. Head has way more up than normal, perfect for a flyer, a little bit more down, and the regular swivel. Shoulders go out to a 90, but can't be cheated for more because of the shoulder pads. Turbines rotate, normal 90 elbows, wrist swiv, there's a decent fake ab crunch, hips are unimpeded in all directions, normal 90 knees, and heels that can articulate to an extent it can help sometimes. Transformation has to be the figure's biggest Achilles heel. It's just not fun. The robot mode is wibbly on the best of days, but the transformation multiplies that like tenfold. Everything is just on soft, gross-feeling joints that are long and unpleasantly thin. Nothing locks in positively, nothing feels good or satisfying to do. Over every step, you're left with a feeling of, wait, that was it? And when you're done, you're left with a figure that doesn't want to hold together. It's not trying to spring apart or anything, but it will not even make the attempt to retain its shape like this. And then the jet mode would be pretty cool looking, at least, if it weren't for this. Really? There's not even a flap. It's just a giant hole through the center of the fuselage? Is that what this part is called? Question of the video, is this part called the fuselage? God, who remembers when I used to do that? I never decided to stop, I just forget because I'm an idiot. Underside is a little messy, and I don't like this section behind the cockpit, but this is almost really cool. I love the green glass on display here, that's dope looking. This particular sculpt looks a lot like a bird of prey, just feeling like some kind of falcon. I love how the VTOL turbines have a purpose in rotating now. She feels like a rocket with the way she builds towards the back, giving her an incredibly fast vibe, along with a seriously pointed nose cone section, which I swear is painted like a pair of wingtip shoes. If they were going for that, I love the idea. It's so clever to make a bird character have that. This thing is almost really cool. I almost love this mold, and I really wish I could, but it's just held back by its build and the general kibbliness of the whole thing. This is where the figure's age really starts to show. This thing feels like it's from a transitional phase, where they realized they could make figures that were more complex and more articulated, but weren't quite sure how to do that yet without huge compromises. Overall, I can't say that if you aren't me that this figure will be worth what I paid to you. It's decent, but in no way would it be worth more than $20 if it weren't the version of the character that it is. I'm happy to have it. I'm okay with what I paid. I love its robot mode, I love what it represents, but I don't necessarily choose to handle it if I can help it. It exists for display. A display that has been greatly improved with the inclusion of my new Dinobot, who I just cannot thank Shockwave enough for. Each of these robot modes looks amazing, with the custom one obviously being more so, but both fill me with a giddiness that I rarely get to experience. They are unique, they are special, they do stuff that we do not necessarily know that we want till someone points it out. I would kill for Hasbro to make a line like this, but all that's for sure is that I love having these in my collection, and I will be needing more Cybertronian Beast Wars characters. Unending gratitude to Shockwave for this absolutely top-tier work. I love it to death, man. And before someone asks me where the monthly shoutouts are, I want to do them in the anniversary video where I celebrate all you guys. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know you know what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.